Why, hello there, dinosaur fans. I've set up my room differently. I have a desk in front of me here now. It's great. You're closer to my shelf. Look at all of my plastic. It's wonderful. But today we are having a look at a highly anticipated Eofauna figure. We are having a look at their brand new Tyrannosaurus Rex, so let's dive into it, shall we? Now, when Eofauna announced this figure, they announced it as Tyrannosaurus imperator due to the study that came out about a year or two ago now, probably, about splitting multiple Tyrannosaurus specimens into different species based on their core differences. It was heavily questioned in between when Eofauna started working on this figure and when they released it, so if you look on the once again, wonderfully illustrated collector's card that comes with this figure, you'll see they have opted to put Tyrannosaurus Rex / Imperator on the card there. Probably not to upset all of those T-Rex fanboys out there. Yes, I said it. No, but seriously, that study was scrutinized quite heavily after its initial release. I don't believe it was completely shut down, but I believe it just needs more sampling and evidence to be pushed forward. But regardless, we're not here to talk about that study. We're here to talk about this striking figure. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't crazy into this one when I first saw the sculpt for it, and that's just subjectively. I felt like aesthetically it wasn't one of my favorite depictions of Tyrannosaurus compared to others that are on the market. But in hand, I think for non-articulated Tyrannosaurus Rex figures, this one is probably my new favorite. Then again, you might think that's a hard decision because of the amount of Tyrannosaurus figures that are out on the market, but to be fair, a lot of them aren't great. We don't get many figures as rigorously scientific as like this one, for example, which if you're familiar with Eofauna, basically they have Tyrannosaurus's articulated skeleton digitally, and they sculpt the muscle and fat and skin around it and do all the integument on top of that. So you know you're getting this thing proportionately spot on. You know you're getting it anatomically accurate. It really just comes down to more of the speculative integument on the rest of the body. There is some controversial parts on this figure. But do you know what's not controversial? Is the sponsor for today's review, Mara Brown, the White Death. Yes, guys, we got a sponsor. Can you believe this? The author of this new and upcoming action-adventure novel containing dinosaurs, of course, Billy Reed, reached out to me recently and asked if I would promote his novel if he sponsored an upcoming video review. He very kindly purchased this Eofauna Tyrannosaurus Rex for me to do the video review, so thank you so much, Billy, for this. And I have just started this book recently, just a few days ago. I'm a few chapters into it. It's very fun so far, very nicely written, and just for a little teaser on the plot, just off of Florida's Atlantic coast lies Egret Island, the one place on Earth where humans and dinosaurs live side by side. However, when something not entirely human nor dinosaur begins stalking the island by night, Mara Brown is the only one able to stand up and fight back, becoming the vigilante known as the White Death. Mara sets out to defend her home and determine the origins of these mysterious new predators. Ooh, how enticing. But yes, this is an early copy that he sent me. I'll put a link down below on this video once these are available for you to get. Also a link to Billy Reed's Instagram about this book. Make sure you go check it out. This is his passion project of many years of work, and it is very fun so far. So anyways, thank you, Billy, for sponsoring this review, and let's get back into the Eofauna T-Rex, shall we? Now, one big thing that Eofauna improved with this Tyrannosaurus figure that I want to talk about is their first theropod they ever released, and their third ever figure was it their third ever figure or their fourth? I don't remember. It doesn't matter really, but it was their first ever theropod, their Giganotosaurus carolini, and that one did not have a base and had major stability issues. I mean, mine has so many scuffs on it from how many times it fell over, and I just decided to put it in the repaint bin because I'm satisfied with my Safari LTD Giga, which you can't see is behind me on my shelf right now. The Eofauna Giga was just too much of a headache to deal with. But one thing I love about Eofauna is they're always taking feedback and stuff, and they're always looking to improve their products. Same with like How Long Good and Beast of the Mesozoic, and that's why I love this company so much, for all of the effort that they put into each individual piece. That's why it takes so long for these, because these are so rigorously researched and constructed over time. But anyway, this one, as you can see, has a base, and unlike the Safari Giga, for example, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, this one's base is removable from its feet. It actually comes detached from the base, but it has pegs on it and holes in the bottom of the feet. And now here's a public service announcement because I'm kind of an idiot. There is one hexagonal peg and there's one cylindrical peg. Do not put the cylindrical peg into the cylindrical hole and the hexagonal peg into the hexagonal hole. It's actually opposite. You put the circular hole over the hexagonal peg and the cylindrical peg into the hexagonal hole. I hope that made sense. I was trying to force it into the correct shapes, and I think I damaged the hole on this foot slightly. Oops. I really feel like as one improvement going forward, maybe they could include like a little piece of paper or something. Like, it doesn't need to be anything big, just something attached to the leg with the tag on the figure that just says like, make sure you put this opposites into the holes and the pegs and stuff. You know what I'm saying. But doing it the opposite way, like I was saying, gives it much needed friction, so it actually stays clicked onto the base perfectly. This is not going to come off, and it makes sure that it stands perfectly on your shelf. Now, this one also, they did do some work just with the figure itself compared to the Giga, I can tell, because it is a little teeter-tottery once you put it down, but it balances much better just like this on its own. And the pose isn't anything extreme. It's nothing to write home about really, but it looks natural. I love the subtle walking pose with the toes bending backwards there and such. It's nothing phenomenal, but it's just nicely done for what it is. And the base has a really nice like forest floor texture with some sticks on it and some soil there. And on the bottom, you just have the Eofauna logo etched out, which is pretty cool. But I honestly think this also adds to the visual look of the entire piece. So I wouldn't mind even if future quadruped figures from Eofauna got the base treatment like this. I think it just looks nice, and it also has the option of removing it if you'd rather get like a PNSO stand to put under its chest or something. Anyways, that's enough about the base. I'm 11 minutes into this recording and we haven't even talked about the dinosaur yet. But anyway, sculpt-wise, this Tyrannosaurus Rex is absolutely gorgeous. The scalation detail across the entire thing is beautifully done. The scales are nice and small, but they are also just large enough to where you can appreciate the detail. The paint also helps bring attention to it as well. I believe there was some subtle washing going on with the paint here to bring out those details. And on the back of the animal, on the back of the neck and going down the spine, particularly over the shoulders, we have some very tiny fibrous feather detail, very similar to the prehistoric planet T-Rex, which I like. Because we know other Tyrannosaurs had feathers, it's likely that these guys would have had some small filaments sprinkled in between their scales and such. Now the main area of discussion here is the head. And I'm just gonna say it, this Tyrannosaurus is ugly, but it's ugly in a really good way. Let me clarify. I look at this T-Rex and I'm like, aesthetically, this is not my favorite T-Rex. I like stuff with like more of the sharp edges on it, sort of like the BOTM T-Rex. Granted, those two are based off of different specimens. This is based off of Sue, really heavily built, really bulky. But that's something that's really cool and kind of underappreciated about Tyrannosaurus for making scientifically informed figures like this, is there is so much individual variation with Tyrannosaurus, which is why it led to that study that led to this figure almost being officially called Tyrannosaurus Imperator. I mean, it still has the name on the card here. It just has Tyrannosaurus Rex / Imperator to avoid any possible drama with that or whatever. But Sue is arguably one of the most famous dinosaur fossils, if not like the most famous dinosaur fossil that we know. An incredible Tyrannosaurus specimen that you can see at the Field Museum in Chicago. And this T-Rex is just an absolute unit to reflect that specimen. But moving up into the head, you could see all of the soft tissue that they put on this figure. I love it. It has this grotesque, naturalistic look to it. It's not ugly in a bad way. It's ugly in a scary, real animal way. From some angles with the black face and the orange eyes, it can almost look uncannily mammalian in a weird way, but it just looks so cool, especially when you open the mouth and you see those lips sort of hanging down the sides of the teeth like a mastiff, both on the upper and the lower jaw. The lippage is just excessive and grotesque and chef's kiss. And speaking of the mouth, on the interior of the mouth, we have a lovely modeling pattern, which big props to Eofauna for putting this much attention to detail in their paint scheme here, because most dinosaur figures just put like fleshy colors, pinks, reds, or whatever on the inside of their mouth, if they're feeling generous, like a cool blue or purple or something, and they call it a day. But Eofauna here has put this coolest little speckling pattern on the inside of their mouth that looks very naturalistic and just adds even more personality to this dinosaur figure. It looks awesome. The teeth are individually sculpted and painted as well. They look great. The detail in the interior of the mouth is great as well. But anyway, as you've seen with me opening and closing the jaw over and over again, the jaw hinge is different compared to other dinosaur figures. And this is something that a lot of people, including myself, were worried about. I think for what this figure was going for, with all the soft tissue on everything, I could see Eofauna's vision, and I think the jaw was, for my first time seeing something like this on any dinosaur figure, I think it was executed really well. Unless you're like right up next to it or looking at it from some very obscure angles, you're not really gonna notice the gappage on the fleshy cheeks over the hinge there. And when it's not moving, it's really hard to tell that it's even there. It's honestly, when it's closed, it lines up almost perfectly with the base of the neck there. And when it's open, you can see a little bit of a lip on the bottom, but I think they engineered it incredibly well for what it is. Also from the front of the skull, you can see that gorgeously creepy Tyrannosaur binocular vision there. Look at that. Beautiful. But here's the thing, while I was worried about how the new articulated jaw thing was going to look, the thing that I wasn't prepared for was this kind of obscene seam line at the back of the head. From a distance, and because the color scheme is mostly like darker colors around the head especially, it sinks in and it's passable, but as soon as you pick up the figure, it is pretty obvious that the head assembly is attached there. I wish that was less obvious, or maybe they could have put it at like the base of the neck or something. I don't know if that would have made it any better. But yeah, that has to be the biggest eyesore on this entire figure for me. But what's not an eyesore is that color scheme. Wow, this is such a striking color scheme for a T-Rex. It's a lot of like bright yellow and Spanish orange, and it's got a creamy yellow on the underbelly and such, but it's just enough vibrancy to really be a beacon figure on your shelf and a good centerpiece for a Tyrannosaurus figure in your collection. But it has enough naturalism with that beautiful, varied modeling pattern throughout the entire thing, and I love the commitment to, did I just spit everywhere? But anyway, that lovely commitment to just the bold black head just looks beautiful. Anyways, I've been rambling about this thing for about 20 minutes now. It's gonna be a lot shorter for you guys because of the magic of editing. Did I do something fancy there? I probably did something fancy there. Now, in case you're wondering how big this figure is, from the tip of the tail to the tip of the snout, ooh, if I can get this working. My ruler's too floppy. From the tip of the tail to the tip of the snout is about it is about 13 inches long, which is over a foot, which is pretty crazy. And on the base, at its highest point at the top of the head, is just about 5.5 inches tall. And I'll put comparison shots of it next to other figures and such in the video, but I did want to grab this guy behind me here. The Eofauna dominant color scheme, Yoshi's Trike, which came out, well, like 2 years ago now. Time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like bananas. I'm so funny! But these two look gorgeous next to each other design-wise as a pairing, actually. They're such striking depictions of such classic dinosaurs. And I'm really excited to see what Eofauna does next. I honestly have been loving their sauropods, which I haven't reviewed their Diplodocus, but maybe we will at some point. The figure's just annoyingly long. A big thank you to my channel members, as always, particularly a Trashbug and Raphael Tree Kangaroo for being Spino Chad. If you want to become a member, click the big join button down below. And a big thank you to Billy Reed, author of the upcoming novel Mara Brown White Death, for sending this copy out to me and for sponsoring this review and purchasing this Tyrannosaurus for me to review. Thank you so much. Like I said, make sure to check out all those links down below. This story's been very fun so far. This coyote's outside attacking something. Oh dear.
Hi, it's Eric here again, here to tell you to subscribe to SpinoDude. If you don't subscribe to SpinoDude, I might just have to come over there and take all your dinosaurs. Do you want me to take all your dinosaurs? I will, don't tempt me. So you better hit that subscribe button, and you're gonna hear bells ringing, because you're gonna hit that bell icon, and you're gonna hit like, and you're gonna be epic like that. And instead of me taking your dinosaurs, I will give you my appreciation.